Father, I would like to know your perspectives on higher education in India.
Okay, higher education is in India is still highly restricted. See, with Manmohan Singh in the early 90s, India has changed from licensee Raj to liberalization in most of the industries except education. Education was strictly highly regulated by too many agencies from central to the state and from state to university and still many other bodies. Now with new education policy 2020, no, National Education Policy 2020, I see lot of liberalization coming in, especially in higher education. Many places in the National Education Policy, if you look at, they are saying light but tight regulations will be there. So there will be few regulations that are tightly implemented, whereas it's going to be light. I think that is how it shall be, because education is trying to educate for future. Most other services are given for the present. If you need a chair, it is to, this chair is made for what? It is to sit for today or tomorrow or maybe for 2 years or 3 years, not for using it after 25 years. Whereas when you educate, how do you educate? You actually educate a student so that the student may use it after even 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. So education is always futuristic. And then when future is highly restrictive, then education becomes minimal. So that has to be, I think that is how the education field is going to be.
Yeah. Father, in your opinion, how we can improve the quality of education in Kerala and in India?
See, I am not an educationist to speak on the means to improve education system in Kerala or in India or anywhere. But my humble experiences have taught me there need to be a lot of qualified and inspiring teachers who tells the student that you are really competent. You are going to be the kings and queens of the world. Somebody has to convincingly and inspiringly tell every student like that. That is probably how it has to be transformed. And to that, the teacher should be given adequate freedom to design the curriculum, to decide on the methodology of assessment, to suit the requirement of individual student, rather than standardized test made for everybody. See, some of the students may be highly expressive when they are vocal.
Yeah.
Maybe they are not that skillful in writing. Maybe another student may be highly articulate when given an option to do than to speak or write. So if this teacher is given the freedom and trust to assess every student based on the contributions or the quality of the student or the kind of requirement of the individual student, the assessments will become more genuine. Now in our system, I find the problem is everybody can hide behind the curtain. See, I am getting a certificate, BA certificate. Nowhere in my certificate, unless except in the autonomous colleges, it says in which college, taught by whom, which are the qualities.
Yeah.
Nobody. So I am not answerable. I am actually teaching somebody, but I am not at all answerable anywhere in the system, except where probably my salary is being paid, if at all somebody bothers on it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is no botheration. I think, as in the West, teachers should be given freedom and also given 100% responsibility in stating, okay, have your student got this particular skill? If not, I should be answerable. Who is your teacher?
Yeah.
That should be the question. But now in the question, now this is a student coming from such and such university, another is such and such university. Under the university, there are 300 colleges. And in the 300 colleges, the same subject is taught by 600 teachers. Who is responsible? Nobody knows who is responsible. So that's the kind of situation today. That has to be changed. Everything should become transparent. Every person should be becoming responsible and should be given responsible freedom.
Yeah. Further, how did you see in the Marian's transformation to outcome-based education?
Transformation to outcome-based education was triggered by many factors. One thing, outcome-based education was insisted through all regulating bodies. For example, in Kerala, Kerala State Higher Education Council stated it. The university to which we are affiliated, Mahatma Gandhi University, stated it. Then National Assessment and Accreditation Council stated it. UGC stated it. Ministry of Education stated it. Then there was no going back. Then the question was how to actually transform our curriculum and assessment to outcome-based education. That was a big challenge, for which we actually had several scholars coming from different places and then giving training to our faculty members. After a stage we understood it would be better to develop in-house expertise than depending on outside experts. Gradually we started on that, started reading the directions and research materials published, then went ahead with a lot of small experiments. And fortunately, I also had a short period of exposure to all this in my postgraduate studies abroad. So that also indirectly to a certain extent helped. Then together we built up a team in Marian with the IQAC, with examination cell, HODs in place, and gradually we started training our own teachers. We thought, okay, this year to this level, next year we are going to integrate another level, and gradually we did all that and made a marvelous, remarkable difference, I would say, in teaching, learning and assessment of students.
As a new faculty in Marian, I would like to know the journey of Marian towards autonomy.
It was actually an inspiring journey, I would say. In 2014, Government of Kerala, or 2013, Government of Kerala decided to give autonomous status to few selected colleges, and selection criteria was very rigorous, very rigorous. There need to be a certain number of points out of 100 based on parameters already fixed. And in 2013 we applied, and then we couldn't get through in the first list which was published in 2014. Later in 2014 we again applied when government decided to give a few more colleges, consider a few more colleges for autonomous status. And Marian was the last autonomous college in that category, arts and science category. Marian was the last autonomous college in the state and the youngest autonomous college in the state. Marian became autonomous in 20 years, whereas the next youngest autonomous college in the state had more than 60 years of existence. So the kind of struggle we underwent, which you can imagine. And when we wanted this, we wanted to go for autonomous status. As soon as I became the principal, what I said was, I openly told all this to my able faculty members who are willing to contribute 100% towards this cause. So they made all the preparations. All performers were prepared by them, and our faculty members were through. I still remember how we actually faced the interview committee which came for shortlisting colleges. For the first few minutes I was there explaining the documents. Later my own teachers, they came and told me, Father, you go to your office, we will handle them. They were so sure what to communicate and how to communicate. because they really wanted it. I remember when there was opposition from many colleges, both by student groups and by staff, even preventing expert committee visit from central entering the campus. Our chairman at that time, student chairman Ben, I still remember Ben and his team, no, entire team, they were here to welcome and arrange, organize everything. And the entire teaching staff and non-teaching staff together, we had a luncheon meeting before the exit of the expert committee, which they really marveled. They were thinking, no, they have gone to several colleges for autonomous, granting autonomous license, and there is always a micro minority that opposes. Here we didn't have not only opposition, here we didn't have even one person who did not give 100% of their contribution to the cause of becoming autonomous status. So it is really quite thrilling, I would say.
Further, I would like to know your perspectives on new education policy.
New education policy, when I speak on, I'm more thorough with the higher education aspects of it. There are certain controversies regarding the lower education, of course. There are certain concerns. But regarding higher education, of course, there are two oppositions from. One thing I have already mentioned, the one statement which they have repeatedly used, light but tight regulation, that is going to give lot of freedom for innovation and growth for aspiring institutions and aspiring teachers. Every teacher is going to be like a complete autonomous teacher. In the sense, a teacher will be designing the curriculum, the syllabus, not curriculum would mean the whole thing, will be deciding the syllabus, will be deciding the mode of delivery of the syllabus, will be deciding the mode of evaluation, 100%, whether there should be, I am going to make it all continuous assessments only, or only theory, one term paper is enough. To that extent, complete freedom is going to be enjoyed by the teacher, which is necessary. Therefore, with this change, every teacher becomes responsible. Why the syllabus is like this? Today's answer, university has given the syllabus. Why the question paper? University. Everywhere there is a passing the buck thing. When the university is conducted, now this is the board of studies. When the board of studies is conducted, board of studies will say, these are the people who came, now there is a problem of the workload. When the workload is conducted, they will say it's because of the UGC. When the UGC is conducted, the state government. And finally, there is no responsible person to decide or say why this particular course is run like this. Nobody to answer. But in the new education policy, nobody can escape the responsibility. And that is one thing which really fascinates me. So every institution is going to be responsible, every teacher is going to be responsible. I think that responsibility together with the freedom will bear great fruits in the near future in India.
Yeah.